In the middle 60s, there were a number of bands that put out hit singles but weren't really known as an album band. And the band we're going to talk about in this episode fits that bill. They put out 29 singles between 1964 and 1971, sometimes as often as every other month. They were quite busy, and they were one of the biggest acts in the British invasion. And they were the first rock concert I ever went to when I was a teenager in Chicago. So let's get ready to find out more about Herman's Hermits. Let's drop the needle. The band was formed in Manchester, England in 1964, and the lead singer was a chap called Peter Noone, who was well known to the British TV audience because he'd appeared on a soap opera. The other members of the band were Derek Leckenby, he played lead guitar, Barry Whitman on drums, Carl Green on bass, and Keith Hopwood on rhythm guitar. Now, there was a record producer at this time called Mickey Most, and he had made a big hit with the Animals. And he heard Herman's Hermits play, and he signed them to produce their records. The band started with great success on their first single released in 1964, I'm Into Something Good. It went to number 13 on the US charts, but it hit number 1 in the UK. They followed this up with a single called Show Me Girl, but it wasn't released in the US, but it was a hit in the UK. 1965 turned out to be a banner year for Herman's Hermits. Their first single for that year soars to number 2, Can't You Hear My Heartbeat? This is followed by Silhouettes, which goes to number 5 in the US and 3 in the UK. Then we get their big smash hit, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Daughter, which shoots right up to number 1 on the charts in the US. Next up is Wonderful World, which goes to number 4 in the US, 7 in the UK. And then they follow this up with the novelty hit, I'm Henry VIII I Am, which goes to number 1 in the US. And the year ends with 2 more singles, just a little bit better, number 7 in the US, and A Must to Avoid, which is number 8 in the US. Now, in 1965, Billboard magazine rated Herman's Hermits as the number 1 best-selling singles group in the world. Do you know who number 2 was? The Beatles. And somehow that same year, 1965, with all the recording, the touring, the appearing on television, they managed to appear in a feature film, Where the Boys Meet the Girls. Okay, the film actually starred Connie Francis, but Herman's Hermits played themselves in the movie. In 1966, they slowed down a little bit and only released 6 singles. And the first one is a hit. Listen, people. This is followed up with You Won't Be Leaving, but that's not released in the US. Then we get a hit, Leaning on the Lamppost. And then The Door Swings Both Ways. I don't remember that one. And then they have a top 5 hit, which was written by Ray Davies of the Kinks, and it's Dandy. Next up comes No Milk Today, but only tops at 35. And finally East West, which hits 27. And the band stars in their second film, and this time it's their film, and it's called Hold On. But you know, I never saw that film, or the first one either. 1967, they have 3 hit singles. The first is There's a Kind of Hush. And then this is followed up by one that I really didn't like so much, which was Don't Go Out Into the Rain, You're Going to Melt Sugar. And then their last hit for 1967 was a piece called Museum. In 1968, they released a single called I Can Take or Leave Your Loving, and it hits number 22 on the charts. But their other singles for that year don't do nearly as well, charting in the 60s or even up into the 100s. Those are Sleepy Joe at 61, Sunshine Girl at 101, The Most Beautiful Thing in My Life could only hit 131, and Something's Happening, which was also 130. By 1969, Herman's Hermits are no longer recording hit singles. They released 2 singles in 1969, but neither one of them chart. And they are My Sentimental Friend and Here Comes the Star. 1970, they released 3 more singles, and again they don't chart. And these are Years May Come, Years May Go, Bet Your Life I Do, and Lady Barbara. The writing is on the wall, and by 1971, Peter Noon leaves Herman's Hermits. So the band decides to continue on with a new singer. They record, they tour, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And then in 1973, Noon rejoins them as part of a British Invasion tour, which is kind of a nostalgic act. And after 73 and 74, Noon leaves again. Now, their producer, Mickey Most, was well known for using session musicians on records that he was producing. And so a big controversy has come up over the years of how much did Herman's Hermits really play on their hit singles. Now, they were accomplished musicians, but Mickey Most himself is quoted as saying, yeah, they played on a lot of their records, but there were some that they didn't. Today, Peter Noon continues to tour as Herman's Hermits starring Peter Noon. And Barry Whitman, the original drummer, tours with a band that is called Herman's Hermits starring Barry Whitman. Now, over the period of 1964 to 1967, Herman's Hermits had a slew of hit records. And with their clean-cut image and the lovable Peter Noon, they helped define the swinging 60s. So go into your record collection and pull out I'm Henry VIII, I Am, and sing along with it. I guarantee it'll bring a smile to your face. Thanks for watching, and keep a rockin'. If you liked this episode, hit the like button, and you can also leave me a comment down below, and I'll respond to you. If you subscribe, we'll let you know when future episodes come out.